The way Chicago has influenced me creatively is that it's a melting pot. Chicago music is a melting pot, and you can get any and every sound here. And that's what I love about Chicago. When I grew up listening to Do or Die, Crucial Conflict, Twista, Lupe Fiasco, Kanye West, you can literally get Common. Just want to much respect to Common. You can literally get any sound here, and it's just a big melting pot. So when I was growing up, I was exposed to all of it. You know, like I said, my brother, he was really heavy into music, so he put me on a lot of stuff. What I started to understand was that you don't have to be in a box. In Chicago, you don't have to be limited to one specific sound. You can literally get an example of what the music industry is here sonically anywhere, on all sides of the city, all sides of the coin. You know, I think that that's what kind of stands out Chicago over a lot of other cities, is because we do have all aspects of music here. We're not pigeonholed to one sound. And every different aspect of music here is great. Like it's so many great artists, especially in the history of Chicago, that you can just look to and just, you know, vibe with. Top 3 underrated MCs. This is difficult because I got more than 3. And you might get upset with me because I might have to go over 3. I got a whole squad of underrated MCs, man. A whole team of guys who are animals when it comes to that microphone. Fillmore Green, Rashid Hadi, Taiwan Davis, Sincerely Yours, F.A.B.L.E. Animals. I'm talking about literal animals when it comes to songwriting, penmanship. So I just have to get that out the way. And I'll separate that, and then I'll say these 3. Okay. First person that comes to mind is underrated is Ad2. I think Ad2 is an underrated MC. I think that people understand the depth of his lyrics and his knowledge when it comes to writing, but I don't think people really understand how tough it gets when you're creating with him in terms of how far he can go on a lyrical level. Like, he's crazy with it, seriously crazy with it. I would have to say another underrated MC, I have to bring him out of the pot right now. Rashid Hadi. Rashid Hadi is another underrated MC. And the reason why I say that is because if you go back to his work with 808s and Hadi, the level of lyricism that he brought on that album, bar none. I mean, it's some of the best lyricism that I've ever heard. He has a song on there called Streetlights, and literally phenomenal penmanship, front to back. It's as perfect as you can get when it comes to writing a record. He's definitely an underrated MC in Chicago, I would say. Third underrated MC, D Jackson, 80s Babies. The reason why I say that is because to this day I tell him every time I see him, he taught me how to rap without teaching me how to rap and how to perform. D Jackson is an MC who is very composed in the pocket. He's very sensible. You can literally understand him completely, even with his metaphors and similes. He's very clear, crystal clear MC. And I've never heard anything that was subpar from him in terms of the writing. Him and Tall Black, they have a amazing energy, the 80s Babies, when it comes to their musical abilities. But D Jackson, when it comes to writing, I mean, he's somebody you got to watch out for. If you're in a session with him, you don't want to lack at all, because you'll look up and you'll look to yourself and say, I might have to rewrite this verse, because he's literally that potent when it comes to the pen. I would say D Jackson from the 80s Babies. Top 3 underrated producers. I got to go with my man Slade. He's one of the most underrated producers, because his production is so across the spectrum. He can do anything. Hip hop, rock, jazz, soul, neo soul, house. Any genre you can put him in, he can make it, and he can make it top notch. top of the line quality. He can work with any artist. You can put him in a space with anybody, and he can produce a record that's tailor-made for them. Slotty is definitely an underrated producer. Another underrated producer. I know this may sound crew crazy, but Rashid ID is another underrated producer. When it comes to sample chopping, nobody can light a candle to this guy. Seriously, I really mean that. When I'm talking about chopping a sample front to back, looking at a record and understanding how to cut it and put it in perspective of a song, I've never seen nobody do it like that. Not on the level, not just in working with him, but if you just go back and listen, I mean, you'll literally think it's a loop. And he'd be like, no, you go back and listen to the record, you're like, where did you get these parts from? It's because he chopped it so precisely, you can't even tell. I mean, that's how dope it is. I think his chopping ability, that's why we call him El Chapo. So I think Rashid ID is another underrated producer. My third underrated guy is Kenny Keys. Man, and I'll say this. I've heard about Kenny Keys later on in my career because I was a generation or two after him. So I caught on Kenny Keys on the back end. And I'll just say one story. I remember when we were in the studio and Rashid had a couple of beats from Kenny Keys. And I heard Kenny Keys on the production scene and stuff like that. When he played me the beats that he sent him, I literally almost fell out the chair. I was like, Jesus Christ. The drums, the way it hits, the way he arranges his music, and he plays keys like professionally, like he's classically trained, I believe. And you can tell, like, you would think that, oh, those are samples. Like, no, he's playing that. He's literally playing all of his arrangements, all of his keys. And when he played me that BCD, I was just like, oh my God. And then he released a beat tape. I can't think of the name right now, but he released a beat tape, I would say about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. Phenomenal. It was, I mean, I literally wore the lines off that BCD. Nonstop, front to back, because I was touring at the time too, so that was like the first thing I would put in. I'm like, I'm good. I got about 2 hours to go. I'm talking about Kenny Keys, he's phenomenal, man. He's definitely underrated. Definitely. Without a doubt.